The Wall Street banks, the central banks, and the big tech firms all together simulating a massive cyber attack on the financial system.
Webb begins by unraveling the intricacies of simulated cyber attacks orchestrated by powerful entities like Wall Street banks and central banks. She highlights the alarming trend of using manufactured crises to justify intrusive policies, shedding light on the motives behind such orchestrated events. Webb's commentary offers a sobering reminder of the importance of mental preparedness in navigating uncertain times, emphasizing the need to resist fear-induced manipulation. Delving deeper into the discussion, Webb draws parallels with the economic collapse in Argentina in 2001, underscoring the significance of maintaining composure and rationality amidst turmoil. She cautions against succumbing to panic, stressing the importance of mental fortitude in making informed decisions. Webb elucidates how fear serves as a potent tool for manipulation, urging viewers to engage in proactive conversations with loved ones to foster mental resilience.
I've done a lot of reporting on the past and including the simulations of the Wall Street banks, the central banks, and the big tech firms all together simulating a massive cyber attack on the financial system as the reason that this will all be brought in. Whether that's from the World Economic Forum itself or the Carnegie Endowment, which at the time was run by William Burns, who is now CIA director. Yeah. That's definitely stuff to pay attention to. But what if that kind of stuff happens? Well, going back to Argentina for a second, I know a lot of people from Argentina, their economy literally collapsed in 2001. What if those people said about, their advice in dealing with that kind of situation? Don't panic. Don't give in to the fear. Because if you're panicking, give in to the fear, you're not going to make good decisions. You're just not. There's a lot to be said about preparing, but a lot of that preparedness needs to be mental preparedness too. So you don't give in to the fear and panic. The reason they need these events to justify the implementation of these policies is so people are afraid, because people who are afraid are easily manipulated. Mm-hmm. And so that's very easy to handle. And it also makes it easier to handle if you talk to people in your family or in your, circle of friends or whatever about how stuff like this could happen. Try and prepare your base, you know what I mean? Mentally. Even if you can't prepare physically and spend money to, buy food or whatever, But also as far as these efforts to regulate the internet, when the internet comes back as a regulated whatever, yeah, they'll be able to surveil everything you see. But a lot of content that's there now probably won't be there when it comes back. Yeah. Now's a good time to load up some offline hard drives with all sorts of kinds of information that you may find useful in the future. Whether,
Are you doing that?
Totally.
Where did you start? Wikipedia, Spotify?
No, I have a lot of ebooks. I've got young kids, so lots of movies and stuff to watch. Books and video rips and stuff of how to be self-sufficient. Certain skills I don't have now, but I might need in the future, how-to stuff. You won't be able to just go to YouTube and be like, how do I do this? People have to start thinking about that kind of stuff and have an offline library of things, especially if you don't want to comply, because I won't be, with this whole, you need a digital ID to get onto the new internet. I'm not going to do digital ID shit at all. I'm not. So if you want to resist that and not do it, you have to have a plan about how not to do it,
Are we absolutely fucked, Whitney?
I don't think so. I think it comes down to,
No? Okay.
I think some people will be, but it all depends on, how they decide to act now about these things, and how they decide to react to this information and these situations as they arise, So people that are I don't care, I can't control anything. And that includes people who know everything, but are super black-pilled about it. Obviously they're going to have a really bad time,
Huh.
The way to get out of this is to build alternative infrastructure to their infrastructure. And the time to start doing that is now. Why we can still use the internet as a tool for us, because for a long time, the internet has been a tool for the public. And that's part of the reason they feel the need to regulate it and stick it so completely under their thumb. The mass democratization of information, for example, has been a huge issue for them. And this is why they're coming in now and trying to clamp down so much on the flow of information. Yeah. And why we can still use these things about the internet to our advantage. Stuff needs to be done. And this is why I think it's important, specifically in talking to like the Bitcoin community. There's a lot of talented developers there that can build out a lot of this alternative infrastructure. And there are people in the space working on that kind of stuff. But there needs to be more of it, you know? And it can't just be like all this like macro bullish stuff of like, yeah, they say Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million. You know, I mean, like, I think people need to get their head straight and be like, if Bitcoin is going to be a tool for financial freedom, and, you know, if I want the reasons I got into Bitcoin to still be Bitcoin in a few years, I need to think about how I can help that happen. You know, because they're coming for it and they're going to turn it into something else unless people in the Bitcoin space start doing stuff. And it's not to say no one's doing anything, because people are, but there needs to be more awareness of this in the space, and people need to decide which camp they're in. And I think it needs to be culturally unpopular in the Bitcoin space to serve the co-opt agenda and make it a tool of Wall Street and global empire. You're either on the side of those guys or you're on the side of freedom and the public. Yeah. And put your flag somewhere.
Webb shifts the focus to the regulation of the internet and the looming threat of censorship. She forewarns of a controlled digital landscape where online content is surveilled and curated, urging individuals to safeguard valuable information by creating offline archives. Webb's pragmatic advice resonates with the need for proactive measures to preserve access to critical knowledge and resources in an increasingly controlled digital environment. The discussion extends to the realm of cryptocurrency, particularly Bitcoin, as a potential tool for financial freedom. Webb elucidates how Bitcoin's value transcends mere monetary gains, serving as a means to challenge the hegemony of traditional financial institutions. She advocates for the development of alternative infrastructure within the Bitcoin community to counter attempts at co-option by Wall Street and global elites.
You know, now the stakes are higher than they've arguably ever been, because if they manage to get the system in place because of the technology and what they hope to do to people, going as far as stuff like the brain chip and stuff, if it gets to that point, it becomes very hard to undo. And the implications for humans being able to live free lives is very much at stake, right? So like, this is the time to fight this. It's now. If you're in the Bitcoin space, they want to use Bitcoin to serve their ends, not the people's ends. That there needs to be awareness of that, and people need to make choices, and these discussions need to be had. It obviously happens that like, okay, the value of Bitcoin has gone way up, and so now I have all this money. But at the same time, if Bitcoin's value goes to like $1 bazillion, one Bitcoin, that doesn't mean that like you're going to live like a gazillionaire because you have Bitcoin holdings. That's going to mean that the currency, the dollar, the pound, whatever, is being inflated to oblivion. It's like Zimbabwe and Venezuela. So you may be like, wow, I have millions of dollars, but your standard of living is probably going to be the same as it is now. And everyone around you that doesn't hold Bitcoin is going to drown.
Yeah, it's not nice.
So it's not necessarily a thing to cheer on. Yeah. So people need to stop getting googly eyed about like, I might be a millionaire or a multimillionaire, you know, and start being like, I got into Bitcoin because this is a way to stick it to the banks who are ruining the financial system and our world. And I'm going to ensure that it does that. That's what needs to happen. People need to get their head in the game here. And it's not like, you know, oh, like let's get in the bunker and go to war necessarily. But like people need to be aware of this, and that they need to have their head in the right spot for all the stuff that's to come. Because the Wall Street guys think they can buy off all the Bitcoiners by being like, look, you have all this money, join us. I mean, that's like Sith Empire shit. Like, don't fall for it. Well, I think they hope to buy people off that way in the Bitcoin space, because they want to try and get Bitcoiners on their side. And, you know, I think there are probably people who are very influential in the Bitcoin space who are being used to herd people toward that. Influential voices. And ideally, the voices in the Bitcoin community with integrity will start talking about these issues sooner rather than later. Because if Bitcoin is financial freedom and you're going to say that, and it's not true in a few years, I mean, that's a problem.
Yeah.
It either is a tool of financial freedom or it's not, and now is the time to fight to keep it that way. If an event happens that seems really bad and they have a particular narrative about it, they're going to criminalize privacy and all of this stuff, and their solution is to end privacy. And please don't be naive enough to fall for that. They've wanted that stuff for a long time. And every time these events happen, the state, the powers that be, whatever, come for a power grab. And they only get that power grab if we consent and go along with it and give in to the fear and the panic. And that has to be resisted.
Webb emphasizes the need for a cultural shift within the Bitcoin community, where integrity and resilience take precedence over monetary gains. She cautions against complacency and urges individuals to remain vigilant in safeguarding the principles of financial autonomy and freedom. Please like and subscribe my channel.